texting. But for him, he was old-fashioned and he was straight to the point in a positive way. And that's what made him a special and a successful man. So my tribute, I can start reading it. On Thursday, 20th February 2025, will be a day I will always remember. The day you are promoted to heaven. It has been a long journey, Daddy. I never thought you would leave us in our early 30s. And it pains me to realize that you will not be there for us, your children, to you. These past days, I have been going down memory lane, and I am proud that I was given the opportunity to call you my father. Daddy, you loved us deeply, and you worked tirelessly to ensure we had all we needed and more. You are a man who was always willing to lend a helping hand, a man who was and is my number one role model and mentor, a man of integrity and honesty, an unshakable man. I never thought there was anything you couldn't do. If you wanted to, Daddy, will accept avoid death. We built a lifetime of happy memories. One I will cherish forever, and which time can never erase. If I were to pen them all down, it will need more than a book. You are number one sport of golf. I remember when I was 10 years old, I accompanied you to the golf course. I quickly took golf and you said I was a natural. It became part of me. Your passion became mine. I had learned from the best. In 2007, when I got my handicap, which then allowed me to play professional golf around the world. You are so proud of me. You trained me, Dad, so that I could become the best in the sport. You and the man entitled me and sponsored me to join the Junior Golf Foundation, JGF, the foundation of golfers who are 18 years and below, to improve my golf by playing and winning in some tournaments across the golf courses in the country. I remember you sent me to South Africa in 2009 for a 3-month training to upgrade my golf skills. I gained confidence to bring my handicap down to 2 in a professional level. Thanks. In a professional level. Thanks to you, we won the club match going for Sams in 2015 at tournament. Are engraved till today, as per David Chebukati and J. Chebukati. We were the first golf partners who are related to ever be champions in Royal Nairobi Golf Club. We both also had a hole-in-one at the same club. On the golf course, we connected as well. You are my partner, you are a fighter, and you were a team player. Family golf was the idea. Those moments when we competed as a team of two against each other forever warm my heart. We had so much fun and we enjoyed the rewards that came with winning most of the competitions. Golf will certainly never be the same without you. Whenever you play golf with me and could strategize on how to win every time, losing was not an option. If it happened, you told me, it's not the end of the world, my son. Your time will come. I still can't believe that you are gone. You are irrepressible. Daddy, one of a kind. Tears fill my eyes as I write this tribute. My heart is heavy with grief. Losing you is like losing, but I find comfort in the Lord daily. But I find comfort in the Lord daily. Daily. Your life is hard to emulate, but will do my best to live a life of integrity like you did. I am confident that you are in heaven and are watching over us. I won't see you again on earth, but happily we will meet in heaven. I echo the words of J.M. Richards, in quote, no one wants to go through life alone, fighting battles single-handedly their whole life, not even the hardest of heroes. I love you, Daddy. Rest in peace till we meet again. Thank you.
I think is the best, a befitting moment to do that. So one thing I can say about my dad is a very involved father, very, very involved. He wanted to, good afternoon, to like every single day, it was always, how was your day? What did you do in school? What did you learn? Are you actually improving on what you're working on? what is your goal, what is your plan. Every Christmas we spent together, every New Year's we had to plan about what we want to do the next few years, and he always pushed us and pushed us and pushed us. It was not just, oh, get the grades, it was, how can I help you? He used to ask us when we had to have our New Year's meetings, how can we help you, achieve your goals? So that's, I think, one thing I would want to say. Two, he expected excellence. He expected excellence. He used to say he expected excellence because he gave us the best of everything. He wanted, so he grew up in Bungoma, then met my mom, who was a Nairobi city girl. Then they moved to Mombasa. My mom, I let her have her tribute, speak to her tribute, but I think my dad always wanted better. He never wanted us to go lower. For him, it was just give us the best, give us the best, give us the best at all times. So that's something I want to remember. And I remember at some point I told him, last year I got to spend a lot of time with him when he was mostly home due to the illness. And I remember I told him that if only I can just be like half of you, I'd be great in this world. And he was like, what are you talking about, Rachel? You're not going to be half of me, you're not going to be full of me, you're going to exceed my expectations. I can already see it, I know it. And that's what he expected on a daily basis. He expected us to do better, be better. It was always about reaching for the sky. He used to say, reach for the sky. If you do fall, then you're not too, at least you're not falling below to mediocrity. You're falling at a level of, above average. One other thing, reaching to the sky, I recall when I was before I got to university, I wanted to study. I was a golfer. I played a lot of golf. My parents introduced me to the game. I think I was the only girl who played golf, who had a handicap in the whole of Mombasa at that time. The entire time I played from like maybe 9 to 18. So I didn't really have friends to play with. The boys were very noisy on the course, so I would avoid that. So the people I played with are actually my family. I played with my dad and my mom and my brother. Every Sunday we had family golf Sundays. In the morning we'd go to church and then we played golf in the afternoons. And then we would also play, in competitions as a team together. So initially golf was just for fun, and then it reached a point where somebody in Nairobi noticed there's actually a guy in Mombasa who's actually good. So then my parents started taking it more seriously, investing more in my training. I recall my dad. I was asked to represent. I was selected to represent Kenya at the British Junior Open. And at that point, my parents felt like, at that point, South Africa was the place where people would go for training. But the question was, who would go with Rachel? She can't go to South Africa alone, a young teenage girl, for 3 months. By the way, my brother was allowed to go alone, but I wasn't at the same age, but anyway. So at that point, I think my mom had some big conference she was handling, so she couldn't go with me. My dad was managing partner at Kutu, his law firm at that point, and he had just become the managing partner. But he told them, this is important, and he said, I'm going to be away. So he left, and for 3 months we spent the whole time in Johannesburg. We just were in a hotel room. Every morning he woke up, took me to the course, to the range. We practiced 6 a.m. to the robust program, 6 a.m., 6 p.m. He was my caddy when we went out onto the course. Basically just hang out with me the whole time. So I think that's one of the things he really wanted me to be great. I recall when I told him that I want to be a lawyer, him actually saying to me that, why would you want to be a lawyer when you can be the next, Michelle Wee was the person was the golfer, or the next Tiger Woods for everybody else. I really liked Michelle at that point because she took on the boys, the men, in the professional tournaments. So he really just, he was like, no, don't go to my level, become an advocate. Go beyond, think about going to, the US, becoming a golfer, whatnot. But I love golf, and I think I really just love golf because I just enjoyed it, like the family time. But I knew that for me, the professional life was not where I wanted to go. I wanted to be a lawyer, and part of the main part of the reason I wanted to be a lawyer was my father. He always involved me in everything. Like the number of times he'd take me to court with him when we were in the holidays. I'd just sit behind and I thought it was really cool, to be an advocate in litigation. Until I became an advocate and started practicing and doing litigation and realized that I think I prefer commercial law more. He inspired me, I think, in literally every aspect of my life. So another thing I've written down here is with being Bukusuman. There's this concept that, as a woman, you should sit back, not speak, all that. Unfortunately, fortunately, I'm half Bukusu, half Bunyore, so on the Bunyore side, the women did not know how to sit back. But on top of that, my dad was not a Bukusu man in the sense of that he did not only let my mom speak up, he pushed her to speak up, pushed her to the limits, pushed me to the limits. I recall when a very particular time when we had my grandparents over at our house in Mombasa. We grew up in Mombasa, and my granddad, and some of the elders were sitting outside in the garden, around on chairs and talking. And then I was about maybe like 7 or I don't know, maybe like 10 or something. And I just went, I pulled a chair and sat next to them. And everyone's really laughing. And I think my grandfather, or is it one of the other elders, said something about, no, you should go back. And I was like, no, let her sit. And not only did he say, like, no, let her sit. When we went back into the house later on that evening, I was telling my mom the story of how I came, sat there and crossed my legs, and crossed my hands like and that memory, which is of the team of the elections, his advocates team of elections. Mr. Kumbo spoke on their behalf. The entire team, I think the smaller team Mr. Kumbo mentioned, he asked to stand. I don't that you guys had my brothers and I, but we clapped for you because you guys were great friends to my dad. Thank you. But the story here is that at that time when they were preparing the election petition, 2022, I was very much involved because I was around, and I recall sitting in some of those meetings, and the very first time I sat and just giving my opinion and contributing, and my dad went back to my mom to say, Richard is there talking to very, very senior lawyers like their peers. um, but basically, he just pushed me to not feel like I cannot do anything. He always used to say, people are just people. You know, you can walk into a room, it's just a matter of confidence. And he pushed me to be, just have that confidence, which he has. He has this I don't know, call it overconfidence, which I think he partly also learned from the golf course. You just set your mind to something, say you want to do this and do it, and that's how we play golf together as partners. We would literally just take the risk. It was always about taking the risk. We never took the set shot, even if it made more sense to take the set shot. We always took the risk because we would always say we take the risk, it goes bad, we'll recover, and we'll still recover. So, and that also ties into what I have said in, I think I mentioned my tribute. He always used to tell me, giving up is not in our vocabulary. Whenever I have an issue, whether it was at work or whatnot, my dad was always used to say, Rachel, giving up is not in our family vocabulary. Like, you have to keep going. Like, giving up is not an option. And not only did he say it, he lived it. And he lived it not only during the election period. And when I say election period, it's not just 2017 and 2022. 2007, when my dad stood for election, it was also a very difficult time for our family, because I recall, and like it was for a lot of other Kenyans, but I recall being at home as cousins and the parents, my parents, my uncles, aunties were all up country that don't support my dad. Was running for MP at Sabata, as it was called then. And it took them almost, I don't know, in my head I think it's like 2 to 3 weeks to come back home because there were no flights. It's a very difficult time. People were being stopped. So anything could have happened. So the interesting thing is, I don't know, whether it's a coincidence, but the fact that my dad went through that experience and also lost his election in 2007, which he felt was unfair. He didn't feel like he lost, but anyway, I hope I can see that being a news headline. So because of that, he and I had a conversation about, because when I received job was advertised, the very first time I recall, very few people applied, so it was not, no one was shortlisted. So when the second advert came, because my dad and I had always had conversations about like elections, politics, international affairs. We'd watch CNN together, we'd watch Al Jazeera late into the night. He was like me, could barely, sleep, so I find him watching like in 3 in the morning. I wake up, I find him watching international CNN. I love Al Jazeera, so we'd always have that. So when it came to that, when he started considering that job, applying at IBC, I recall telling him, in my opinion, you're the best person to take this up because you went through it, you have been a victim, of stolen elections. I'll just put it out there. And not only that, whenever we spoke about it, he would always say, I will do this differently. I will do this differently. I will do this differently. So it's like, this is your child.
Managers that we are
Again in November of 2023. And the interesting thing is by November, he had already planned all these international conferences he was supposed to go for. And then we asked him, so what do we do now that, are you still gonna go? He said, yeah, why not? He's still going to go. Because the doctor said it's recurred, but it's not big enough to be removed, So he decided to continue his life. And what we said as a family is somebody will accompany him for each of them. So recall I accompanied him to Portugal, and that was one of the first ones he did after his brain surgery. And after he finished the presentation, which he did remarkably well, I just saw him very tired, and I think at that point that's when I started to realize the chemotherapy is actually taking a toll on him, and I didn't realize it. But despite that, you couldn't tell, no one could tell, So he always kept pushing himself, and that's what he did. Pushed himself and lived for over 20 months, despite the doctors telling him you only have 4 to 6 months to live. So again, just kept pushing himself. And his positivity, his drive, his confidence is what pushes me as well to just continue doing better, to continue being better, to live to the expectations that I have set for myself. And towards his last days, you know the way, like like I said, we've had many death scares. Leave alone the elections. It was April 2023, and then around October 2023, I was with him. I was home because Mom had traveled. So in the middle of the night, he woke up and was a bit stiff. So we were told that was now another problem. Apparently, he was having a seizure. At that point, I didn't know, but somehow my brother and I Googled that when this happens, you're supposed to increase this anti-seizure medicine, and we did. And when we went to hospital the next day, the doctor said, you guys actually, like you did what I would have said you'll have done. So that was another scare. April 23 was another scare when he had to do his second surgery. Then there was December 2023. And then there was more recently, February 2020. Sorry, there was December 2024, April 2024, December 2024, and more recently, February 2025, when he was admitted in hospital, again at ICU. I think this was like his third or fourth time in ICU. My brother and I was like so confident, so I was actually selected, I was not in the country at the time. I'd gone for a fellowship, UN fellowship that I was selected for, and I was debating between myself, should I go, should I not go? And I asked my mom. My mom said, do what your heart feels. He was in ICU at the time. And then I asked my brother, what do you think? And he said, you know what, Daddy would have wanted you to go. And besides, the number of times he's been in and out of ICU, he always scares us and then he comes back. So he's going to come back. So I left to Addis Ababa for a month, packed my stuff for 1 month, knowing that my dad would go into ICU, come back, and knowing that that's what he would have wanted me to do. And then one day after being there, I get the call from my mom in the evening. She didn't even need to say it. She just said, yeah, the hospital had called her, and they want her to come in, and they were not telling her what they want her to come in for until she pushed them, until they mentioned it. So, the funny thing is, I didn't, as much as, yes, he was sick, it didn't actually occur to me this day would actually come because of how confident he was in just pushing himself and on how confident he was in his will to live. The other day, my mom and I were having a discussion about maybe, I don't know, talk of universe or whatever, maybe I needed to leave the country for him to go. I don't know, because I don't know. It just, because it's not making sense to me how I left. But at that point, I just knew he was going to be okay. But then he wasn't. But what I want you to take, I guess, away from this, and for me, I think to my dad, he was not just a father, he was literally the best father anybody could ever ask for. The best father any daughter could ever ask for. I'm so grateful for him. It's sad losing him at 63. Of course, you want him to be there for you in your future. You want him to be there to see your grandchildren. That's one thing my brothers and I guess, were not able to give him before he passed. But my future children, I know for sure, and my future nieces and nephews will know his name. They'll know his legacy. They'll know who he is. And I will, sorry, I don't know how to conclude. I'll probably just keep going. So I'm just gonna say to Daddy, I think rest well. As much as you have been sick for some time, you'd expect it to be, okay, I don't think it can be easier, but it's still hard. And I guess he needed to rest. Maybe I didn't take that into, consideration. I just wanted him to be here.
So maybe just join me. Mwamba wenye imara, kwako nitajificha, maji hayo na damu yaliyotoka humo hunisafisha dhambi, hunifanya mshindi. Bishop, presiding pastor, and all the clergy, and allow me to ride on. As I prepared to give my tribute, I would like to request to be coming forward, just to stand, not to speak, the Commission on Revenue Allocation team. Please just stand and start coming. I am sorry you had been put in the program, but somebody may have felt you fall under constitutional commissions, and so you got lost in there. Please come forward, and as you come forward, I would like to request the team of lawyers of Ngumbo and team Murugu, Mukele, please also that team, the IBC team, Moses, just to come forward. I'd like to request the home care team, Langat, Mwangi, Shaha, all that entire team, just be coming forward, please. Lucy, Kutz, of course, my chairman of the subcommittee, please just step forward. And I don't think Professor Gulie and Molu and Marjan are here, but I know IBC is here. Vera is not here, but her children are here. Now, don't be worried, they are not going to speak. And when indeed I start my tribute, feel free to stand there. Once I see you there, I'll get the message. Because it's very, very difficult to put this tribute to speak of the gentleman that is lying there. I've been strong. I'll try to be strong. And the reason I'm strong is because of the support. Mary Winnie, please come forward. The support that I have received ever since 20th February, just about midnight. I know there's more. There are more people who have supported. But why I'm just calling this team is they have been involved on a day-to-day basis in ensuring that the chairman gets the best, either in terms of support or in terms of spiritual prayers. Chairman Mnamwa, please, I wanted you to come forward. They've been praying, they've supported us in all manner. In the interest of time, I will not mention them. I'll just ask the group of the house team, Ken and your team, Ken and the team, Wamukoya, Shaha, Langat. These have been the caregivers of the chairman, cooking. I think there's Shaha, literally making sure that he's been okay. He was okay initially, but when he started getting sick, then they came in. And I don't know if David is here, he's physiotherapist. If you are, please come forward. They've literally taken care of him on a daily basis. Thank you very much. We will get you to speak on Friday during the tribute upcountry. I also have the team of my sister and my brother, please stand up. Lucy and Kutz, the night the news came in, the news Rachel is talking about, and the chairman of our committee, these are the people who accompanied me to hospital that night. The way the news was broken to me, I was just told he's had a cardiac arrest and he has died. And that was just before midnight. So it was very devastating. It so happened Rachel, as she has said, was away, and my son Jonathan was around, and they were speaking on phone, and Rachel could hear me get the call on the other line. Within no time, she had mobilized a team to accompany me to hospital. Thank you very much. That is Lucy, my sister, and Kutz, my brother, and Wakili Nyongesa. The other people who've been there literally on a day-to-day basis, every day, the lawyers, please step forward. Day-to-day basis, these lawyers have been available. They've been visiting. If it's birthdays, they've celebrated. When the sad news has come in, we have always felt free to share with them. And they have always said, please let us know if you have a problem and if you require anything. Thank you very much. We don't take it for granted. Somebody missing here is one of the lawyers who passed on, Wakili Mutubia, who was also very close with the chairman. Thank you very much. From IBC, Marjan, the CEO, current CEO, Professor Gulie, and the two other commissioners, Professor Gulie and Commissioner Molu. We used to call them the four musketeers, because they used to move around together. They made decisions together. So whenever they visited, literally almost every day, and I will always make sure that whoever wants to visit chairman, should come around 1 o'clock. Kutz and Nyongesa, it was deliberate. I hope you enjoyed the chicken you used to eat. Thank you, Ken, for providing that lunch. I'll just call Ken when these people say they are coming, and I'll try to make sure it is at lunchtime so that they give company to the chairman, because that was the best time to have visited him. Thank you very much. Let me ask the other Makilis, please, Lucy and team, just to step forward. Yes, again, thank you very much for the support that you have given. We are truly grateful. Lucy is the former PA. Wakilis again supported him. You may not have enjoyed the chicken, but you did support very much. Thank you. So this other team, I have a lady here, Rose Wanja. Rose Wanja is a very interesting person. This girl was given instructions by the state to ensure that the chairman goes to Germany. And then she goes ahead and she says, you know, I come from Germany. My father was a German. And then she tells the chair, in his state of sickness, you know, I never saw my father. When you go to Germany, please look for my father. And the chair asks, so how old is your father? Do you think he is? He said, just over 100 years. He says, okay, I'll try, but if I don't find him, can I be your father? So thank you very much, Anja. She ensured that the 2 trips that he made to Germany, she was the one liaising with us for the surgeries. I have now my commission here. Is there anybody else? Again, I'll request them just to step forward. These are the people who I work with and who keep me going in the office. I will start with the commissioners. My vice, who is now in charge of the office and who has been steering, because we are at the very critical stage of that office. Commissioner Kuko, so I'll not allow them to speak. Commissioner Wayaki. We have Josephine, who represents the National Treasury. She actually represents the PS Treasury, Kipto. And then then there's Commissioner Fatuma Gedi, who I'm told was here, but she has been, because of the fasting, the Ramadan, she's not here. I want to send a special thanks to her. Every morning she has walked with buckets of mandazis, mahamri, biryanis, potatoes. So literally, we have hardly bought mandazis. She has supplemented Ken with his cooking. So please extend my appreciation to her. Behind is the CRA team, what I call the CRA team. I see some directors, thank you very much, and some of my staff. And I'm very grateful for the support that you have given me. I will not allow you to speak. You will speak on Friday because that's when we have allocated tributes. So thank you so much. Thank you very much, and the rest of you. I wouldn't want to take over the program, but I just wanted you to get a feel of the team that has been behind the chair. Ruth Muganda, she's here. Yeah, she has a right to complain. Ruth Muganda is a very, very dear friend. We come a long way. And also Mary, who people mistake to be my sister. So thank you very much, Ruth. We have been together for, I don't know, many, many years. Yes, thank you, as old as our children. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. In the process, I want to extend sincere appreciation. I know there will be a vote of thanks to those of you who supported us financially. Please, Margaret, Amanda, please stand up where you are. Sorry, you know you are small, so sometimes we forget you. That is my first cousin. She's a daughter to Rachel, and she's been very, 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 very supportive. Literally kept on coming home, knows the entire story of the chairman, because they used to engage every other time. Sorry, Margaret, I had forgotten you. Thank you very much. I want to then proceed. As I say, I was appreciating the financial support. It's been overwhelming. We were told we shall have a state funeral, but that will happen at home. But again, state funeral, as we still have to get support to meet certain expenses, because as you are aware, if I have to host guests in the village, there will be more of the politicians' guests than my own guests. My own guests are about this number, but I've been told to host 2,000 people. Emil, my brother-in-law, thank you very much. You've been very supportive, always coming home. I hope hope you enjoyed the salads. We also used to time you the time to come home. Thank you very much. Allow me now to just go through quickly my tribute. And as I say, if you feel free to stand, presiding, go ahead. I'm very good at taking instructions. So mine is a letter to this gentleman that lies here. A very handsome gentleman, no doubt. Our formal journey between you and I began on the 21st of April 1990, when we solemnized our marriage at Mariakani Christian Center. But our story had started long before that. I first met you when I was attending a training which was sponsored by the National Treasury in Mombasa. I was an accountant then. You were then running your law firm of Wanyonyi and Company Advocates. Most people know me as Mrs. Wanyonyi. Many think Wanyonyi is somebody else. My husband is Wanyonyi Chebukati, so I'm married to the same man. They are not two different men. So I have been Mrs. Wanyonyi ever since I started working. Chebukati surfaced when 2017 came out, but I hardly used the name until 2022. During my mom's funeral, that is when I was introducing the chairman, everybody was shocked and they were like, oh, so this is a Chebukati. So that is how, you may ask why I'm using two names of his, Wanyonyi Chebukati. Well, maybe I loved him so much that I had to take two of his names, I don't know. But it was an issue even when I went for vetting for my position. Because the parliamentarians thought there was a Wanyonyi and there was a Chebukati, so they didn't understand why I was not using the Chebukati name, but it's one and the same. So before our wedding, my pastor insisted that we undergo counseling sessions, and that was a prerequisite for marriage. You took it to heart, attending every session without fail, knowing that missing even one of them might lead to disqualification. I had a very curly pastor. So, as the wedding day approached, you traveled from Mombasa every weekend, sometimes twice a week, determined to see it through. When we were doing our wedding cards, the church insisted on your Christian name. He didn't give his name. I had to call the father to give me his Christian name. That's when I knew he was called Wellington. But as a Christian, he was a true Christian. But I think this phobia of university, when they were in the university being rebels, for some reason, they preferred using their African names. So today you have learned my husband was actually called Wellington. So that's what went on to the card. Wellington weds Mary. So a month after our wedding, I was transferred to Mombasa to join you. So later it became clear to me that the pastor had been testing your commitment. And that was because the sessions he used to come for, I think the pastor wanted to really understand and be sure I am in the right hands, because my pastor was a Bunyore, and my husband, I was going to get married to a Bukusu. And you know Bukusus, they are like Muslims. They can have more than one wife. So my father had actually cautioned me, and he kept on asking, are you sure you want to go to Bukusu? And if you do, then be ready to have company. So he kept on fearing that he knew the way he had brought us up. My parents had been together and we had not had issues of a polygamous marriage. And I was entering a home which was polygamous, and my father feared that I may be a subject of a polygamous setup. But the sessions that we took place, a man lying here assured my pastor that Bukusu cultures will not play a big role in our family. And indeed, they did not. So I remember when you ran for the MP seat in Saboti, Trans Nzoia, you were adamant that I accompany you to the campaign rallies, but I resisted wanting to focus on our young family while managing my job in the public sector in the Coast Province. You didn't hear of it. I had to be by your side. At first, I didn't understand why. But over time, I realized that while you needed my support in your public life, you were just as committed to ensuring I was never in harm's way. You encouraged my presence, but never exposed me to the chaos and scrutiny that came with public life. I learned how to blend into the crowd, to be there without drawing attention. Later, I understood it was your way of silently taking care of me. At your request, your elder sister, my Dina, she spoke here, she moved into our home during the campaign period. 2007. And her role was not just to support you, but to care for me. You knew the demands of the campaign and the pressures it would bring, and you made sure I wasn't left to navigate it alone. That was the kind of man you were. It turned out that because I was not at home in Saboti or Kitale, I was in Coast. There were so many people hovering around pretending to be the first ladies of the MP, the aspiring candidate. So I think he deliberately put Sister Dina there just to make sure that there's a shield around him. So that was him. I think that's why I am still the only wife to the man lying here. That was the highest chance of it happening, because when you are campaigning, everybody wants to associate with you as your first lady. So my husband kept on insisting, you must come home, you must be seen, I must be seen to have a wife and to just have a decent wife. So I will fast forward to your friends. You were Cheb, and then later chairman. But to me, you were always honey or darling. But when Rachel came up as the first child, honey, darling got out of the way. It became Mama Rachel and Baba Rachel. So that is how we all acquired those titles. In the early days of our life, we had only one car, until later when we realized having a second car was more of a necessity than a luxury. Every morning, you would drop me at the district treasury where I worked and pick me up in the evening. I recall one of those days, as a young married couple, we had a disagreement. And I gave you the silent treatment of, as you took me to work, of kneel by mouth. We were not talking. So when we were not talking, it was always kneel by mouth. When you came to pick me up in the evening, you saw me from a distance, laughing heartily, chatting, and very excited. When I got into the car, I instantly resumed my kneel by mouth. Remember, carry forward from morning. You looked at me and said, was that you I just saw, or was it someone else who looked exactly like you? Happy and cheerful, and now you are kneel by mouth. Of course, that broke the ice, and we continued talking. So he had a way of bringing me back whenever we had disappointments. As an advocate, you often had cases outside Mombasa, and you'd ask me to accompany you. I vividly recall a trip to Embu, where you designated me as your driver, so you could prepare your case. Preparing the case was unexcused. He just wanted me to do the driving and to accompany him. At the time, I thought it was simply about work, but over time, I realized it was much more. He wanted us to bond and get close to each other. And that is how we got close, because Rachel came 2 years later after our marriage. Those 2 years were real bonding years. When I was transferred from Mombasa to Nairobi, because I overgrew my seniority, so I was taken to Nairobi. And being a Bukusu man, there was no way I could force you to join me, or even a Luya man. So I found a way. I started slowly pulling out the children. So I pulled Rachel to Nairobi, then I pulled Jonathan, and you heard Emmanuel say how they remained the two of them and they realized they just have to come to Nairobi. That's how my husband ended up coming to Nairobi. And eventually, I saw the team of Kuto there. He now opened and became the managing partner and opened their Nairobi branch. Many people assumed I was the talkative one in our marriage. No. This man spoke more than I did. You will not believe it. He spoke more than I did. He chatted more than I did. And the people who actually know that, who gave the tribute that is really applicable to the gentleman here, was the IBC, where he spent 6 years at the helm. To him, that was his second family. He protected them, and they are here. He ensured that he gave them their best coverage. And I was so encouraged when they came home, almost 150 of them. They had a ceremony, lit candles, and the tributes we had were spot on. That is exactly my husband. IBC, you got it right. That is him. Yes, thank you very much. So the only thing I've not done, because Chairman had a habit of starting things, he starts projects, and then he dumps them on me because he knows I'll run with them. But one thing we've not been able to do with him was to do the PhD. We kept on arguing who will start their PhD first among the 5 of us. It's still a challenge, but for me, I don't think it adds any value. So the challenge is among the 3. So he encouraged me. You have heard about our golf career. You often set that difficult task. I have just told you that. My husband was so generous, so generous. His generosity was to the extent that when he traveled out of the country, he thought the more expensive was the best. So he would bring me very expensive things, which sometimes I would not be able to wear. But I would have to pretend that they are very nice and they are very good. But for him, he picked price first, then quality. Because for him, he believed it's the best when it's the most expensive. So I enjoyed a lot of your gifts, which I know now I will not be able to have them. So after your first surgery, you went about life as if nothing had happened, and you have had that. Playing golf and doing everything he could. The children stepped in, they would accompany him. We used to work in shifts, as Emmanuel had mentioned. At no time after his first surgery did the gentleman here remain on his own. We did shifts. If it was in Germany, we went in shifts. Emmanuel, being self-employed, spent more time. The rest of us would do at least 2 weeks whenever we were required. And when he started ailing, the same thing happened. Despite the fact that he had 24-hour nursing care and aid care, we ensured that each of us had shifts. And if I had to go away, because CRA demanded of me to travel, Rachel, thanks to her bosses, would take leave and come and step in my position. This gentleman, I cannot say more, he was a man of integrity. He despised liars or lies. He couldn't stand a lie. He just could not stand anybody lying around him. In fact, his favorite verse, Mark 8:36, he loved this verse. For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? He really loved this verse. I cannot really end this all before speaking about August 22. There's so much to speak, but let me fast forward to August 15th, 2022, just before the results were announced. It was chaotic, but just around noon, a call came in, and the pastors wanted clearance at the gate. So they requested that the chair asked the protocol team to allow them to have quick, free access. So he was getting ready because he had come back very early in the morning of August 14th. I heard him telling his team that he will be announcing the results on that That day at 3, he hadn't slept, so I forced him to sleep for at least 2-3 hours so that he could take a rest. And when he woke up, it was called that up, so he woke up and he was dressing. So as we were preparing him to dress, he kept on getting calls, and at one time